All right, welcome back to Velshi. Back with me, Roland Martin, host of Roland Martin Unfiltered, Dr. Brittney Cooper, Africana Studies professor at Rutgers University, author of the book Eloquent Rage. Dr. Cooper, I want to put up a chart of how many times my friends at Fox across the road have used the word critical race theory over the last year. That's the monthly mentions. They're up to about 600 in June. I guess people just don't understand. The critical means a critical examination of race in this country. People have taken this to mean a theory that's just critical of white people. I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I'm a big First Amendment guy. But on this Juneteenth day, it is important to understand that there are probably some schools in this country in which a teacher can't teach about Juneteenth because it falls into the category of all the stuff that's been banned that they can't talk about anymore.
Absolutely. So, look, we're at the heights of white hysteria again, because what these folks have done is wage a battle on knowledge. They don't want us to be an informed citizenry, because it turns out that when people actually do know better, they sometimes feel a moral compunction to do better. These people could keep insulting their own base. They basically are saying we want to keep our base ignorant so that we can play on their most base level emotions about grievance and exclusion, and then use them to really wage this kind of informational based race war. But it's also so deeply intellectually disingenuous, because critical race theory is only taught at the highest levels of academia. It's typically not even taught in undergraduate education. It's typically only taught in graduate school, because it's something that emerges out of the study of the law. So what these folks are really saying is that they don't want their children or any black and brown children to have an accurate accounting of African American history, an accurate accounting of American history, right? That is the thing that they are. That is what they are resisting.
Yeah, your description of that, Roland, is Dr. Cooper's description of that is not what Ted Cruz said it is. He said it's little kids in school, white kids being taught to hate themselves.
Here's the whole deal. I'm not going to debate critical race theory, because they're idiots. Fox News, let's be real clear. Let's be real clear. This is a white nationalist strategy. This has nothing to do with education. This has nothing to do with. This is about 2022. The Republican Party, Fox News, need angry white people at the polls in 2022 to take back the Senate and the House. That's it. Christopher Rufo, one of the leaders of this, he literally tweeted this. He said, "We have successfully frozen their brand, critical race theory, into the public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all of the various cultural insanities under that brand category. The goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory." PC. Now their woke is now replaced PC. They are trying to drive white people, to anger them, to drive them to the polls. That's all. It's an election strategy. What mainstream media has to do is stop falling for banana in the tailpipe when conservative media does this. And so that's what they want. Debating critical race theory. What is it? Was being taught. I had a crazy black woman on from Florida who went before the State Board of Education, said, this one teacher said this to my child. And I said, so one teacher said something that you call critical race theory and it wasn't, and you want the State Board of Education to change the whole law in the state? I said, that's idiotic. And I said, what's the percentage of teachers teaching it? I don't know. I said, and that's precisely the point. This is about electoral politics. And progressives, you better wake up, because these angry white Trump supporters, they are trying to win because they're mad they lost in 2020.
Well, Dr. Cooper, translates very clearly into the efforts to still suppress the votes of black people in this country that we continue to see, and they are expanding now. We just saw a protest in Michigan where people have filed all sorts of papers to have an audit there. I spoke to the Secretary of State of Colorado today. We're seeing it happening in Pennsylvania. Malcolm Kenyatta calls it artisanal voter suppression or something of that nature. We are seeing that follow up, not just in word, but in deed.
Absolutely. Just like in 1865, look, I live in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey was actually the last state to abolish slavery, and it happened after Juneteenth. So there is a full court press, not just in the Confederate States, but also in these, these supposedly liberal pockets, even here on the East Coast, even up north, to reinstantiate white supremacy at every level, to reinstantiate white power. I think that Roland is right that this is an electoral strategy, but I also think Republicans are doing what they've always done, which is that this is their next tactic in their culture war, right? They want to make this argument that folks are being assaulted, and that their kids are being assaulted in classrooms, and they are now targeting K through 12, but they did this initial push even at the university level. This is why they came after Nicole Hannah-Jones, right, for doing the 1619 Project. These folks want to tell a whitewashed version of history in which they stole native lands. It was fine for them to do so because God wanted them to have this land, and that then they were entitled to black people to work this land. And they want us all to be happy and to say we've moved on. But it's so interesting that they think that it's black people who are stuck in the past, when clearly they are the folks who are reliving their 19th century glory, and they lost a war, and yet they keep on trying to refight and relitigate a war that they lost resoundingly. Then they lost again in the 1960s on the heels of the civil rights movement. So history does not ultimately go to these losers, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to be vigilant in continuing to say, here's what the truth is. We will fight you every step of the way. And Juneteenth reminds us that our people didn't just get freedom because white people gave it to us, but that we fought and that we continue to control our history, our narrative, our story. That is what makes white people so mad, that black people have agents for our story, and we're going to continue to do that.
Roland, you got 10 seconds.
They control 60 plus of the 99 state legislatures. They control the Supreme Court 6-3. They control 30 governor's mansions. Understand, this is about power. And if you don't think it's about power, then you have no clue about American history. White backlash has always followed black success in America. Read a book, and you'll understand what's happening today because it happened before.
Thank you to the both of you. I didn't get a ton of sleep last night. I was a little sleepy. I am ready to run a marathon after talking to the two of you about this. Thank you to my two friends, Roland Martin, the host of Roland Martin Unfiltered, and Dr. Brittney Cooper, professor of Africana Studies at Women's and Gender Studies at Rutgers University in New Jersey. And